We're delighted to have him back in Jamestown. I asked him for a bio, and he had sent it down to me. And I thought I would get up here and read down through the bio, and then you'll never imagine that Greg Peterson offered to introduce Mike Billoni.
What a thrill. By the way, right here on the right side, you'll see the guy in the original Jamestown Jammers hat. That's Mike Billoni, who you'll hear from shortly. To his left is Mike Ferguson, a protege of Mike Billoni, general manager and another P.T. Barnum extraordinaire who is running the Merritt Winery Festival. Every 10 minutes there's something going on, and most recently had a big event this past Saturday. And of course, next to Michael is, in fact, Mr. Baseball, Russell E. Diethrick Jr. So on this side of the bench is Major League. Now what you need to know is Mike Billoni is a big deal. He's a big deal in Western New York. He is a big deal in the region completely. Mike, and I'm not even going to go through his bio, but how he and I met was through the fact that he was Director of Public Relations for the Buffalo Bisons when they were in the AA Eastern League. And through Mike Billoni, he was able to get me onto the field, and I do what I do, taking pictures and meeting and violating every copyright law there is. But Mike was gracious, along with his bosses, Bill Giesel and Bob Rich Jr. And then Mike became general manager of the most successful minor league franchise, period. And for at least 3 years in a row, broke through the unheard of barrier of 1 million people in attendance through minor league baseball. And this was during the halcyon years when, in fact, Buffalo was on one of the tracks to become a major league franchise. And maybe he'll talk a little bit about that. And where we really got to know Michael was in 1993. This organization here, the Jamestown New York Penn League franchise, was lost. The owners of the franchise, the Montreal Expos, decided at a meeting to move to Burlington, Vermont. Many things happened in about a 24-hour period, which included myself, Mike Billoni, Bill Giesel, among others, to try to convince an existing franchise in Niagara Falls to come here. That happened. Mike was part of that. It was a terrific teamwork event. And then he came down as the general manager, the initial general manager, and whoa, we weren't ready for that. Let me tell you, we were not ready for the Mike Billoni treatment in Jamestown, New York. And it's during that time period we actually created a book called Across the Seams, which is the history of professional baseball in Jamestown, which we, Jim Riggs, Larry Marvell, a lot of other people use and were part of that process. That happened because Mike Billoni wanted to make that happen. Mike also is the kind of guy that is out there among them, and I'm just going to give you 3 quick examples, and then I'm going to let him go to give you a sense. During this time period, we're rah-rahing the fact of this new franchise owned by the Buffalo Bisons, Mike Billoni. He brought down the Buffalo television stations.
Friday is a big day here in Jamestown. So is Friday, June 17th. Because that's the day that this city's new baseball team, the Jamestown Jammers, has their home opener, and there's lots of excitement. There you see, there's the Jammer right there on the screen.
What we're going to bring here is a lot of the flavor and excitement and fun that we had at that we've had at Pilot Field and War Memorial.
One of the best gimmicks ever was the fact that at that time for Lucy Fest, the guests were the Smothers Brothers. So Mike Billoni comes down and he says, Greg, meet me outside of what the Reg Linnaeus Civic Center, and it was the Smothers Brothers. The line went down 3rd Street, almost down to North Main. It was that far. Mike goes, I've never seen a line I like. Follow me. And I said, you can't do that. So here's big Mike Billoni. I'm not quite as big as Mike, so I feel like I'm in his shadow. And so he's got a bag. He's got a bag, and he walks right through to the front gate. Hi, I'm Mike Billoni. I'm with the Buffalo Bisons. Hi, I'm Mike Billoni, Buffalo Bisons. Next thing you know, nobody's allowed in. we're in. Mike's got us in. Next thing he goes, where are the Smothers brothers? Where's their dressing room? I go, Mike, you just can't do this. And I'm not shy. For those who know that, I'm not shy. And I'm just mortified. Mike keeps moving right through. There's the guy at the stage door. Hi, I'm Mike Billoni. I'm here to see Tommy Smothers. Because I'm bringing a message from one of his good friends. And next thing you know, boom, there's the dressing room, and there they are, the Smothers brothers. And hi, I'm Mike Billoni. I know Dr. So-and-so, and he's your best friend. These guys are just, what the hell are you talking about? And the next thing he goes, I'd love to be able to present to you Jamestown Jammers jerseys. So, long story short, just before the intermission, who walks on stage from off stage is Mike Billoni.
Member of the Jamestown Jammers, because he said you are the baseball player in the family, and he said your number is lucky 13. All right. Now what we'd like to do now.
What do I have to do to qualify here? 3. I got 3 and you got 13.
Wait a second.
Thank you very much.
I'm Tom. He's good. Thank you very much. Big hand. Thank you. I was hoping that Bush Industries was going to give me one of these thin cabinets for my
I'll tell him you got it now. You got it.
baseball shirt. Big deal.
Second thing, this is Mike Billoni. I was asked by Bob Jr. to go with Mike down to do some lobbying in Washington, D.C. And I was his bag man and an attorney just to hang around. So they have some legislation going on that might affect the antitrust of baseball. So Mike is out lobbying on behalf of Rich Entertainment. So I got a bag, and each bag is a uniform, and each uniform on the back is some senator, Paxson, Molinari, Moynihan, Senator Moynihan, etc. And our job was to go and to meet, greet, and hand them these uniforms. Like, what fun! So we get to a special meeting with all of the New York delegates of all the minor league baseball, and Mike arranged to go see Senator D'Amato. So we all march there. And we go to the door, and there's an aide comes out. Hi, Mike Billoni. I'm here to see Senator Alphonse D'Amato. And the assistant comes out and says, I'm sorry, Senator D'Amato's tied up. He can't meet you, but I'll be happy to meet with you. Mike goes, excuse me. So he pulls out his cell phone. He gets on the phone, and he calls Bob. Not Bob Rich. He goes, Bob. It may have been Tony Joy. Tony Joy. Tony. Hi, this is Mike. I'm down here with Senator D'Amato. And he's not going to see me. I wonder if you could make a call. Thanks. We'll see you. Bye. Hangs up. He goes, hold on a second. You know who comes out the door? Senator Alphonse D'Amato. Hey, Mike, how are you? Come on in. So the whole delegation is there for an hour. For a guy who couldn't meet us for 5 minutes or 5 seconds. There we spent with Senator Alphonse D'Amato. That is Mike. This is a gimmick I have yet to master. But for those who get caught in crowds and you don't know how to get out of a crowd, you know how it is? Sometimes you go to a family reunion, you're talking to somebody, and you can't shake them. You just can't shake the person, and they talk about somebody you're just not interested in. Mike Billoni perfected it. Now, Mike, when I took him around that whole year of 1993, 94, because he's a celebrity. He's Mr. Big, Mr. Baseball, Buffalo Bisons, and Mike, and I'm thrilled. Mike shakes hands with everybody. He's never met a stranger. However, at times, it gets a bit much. Shakes hands, there's 3 or 4 people. Hi, Mike, what about this, what about that? And all of a sudden, you could just see, hold on. He'd pull out of his pocket, and this is brilliant, a brilliant thing, so take notes. Pulls out a camera, and he goes, everybody get together. Let me take a picture of you for my scorebook, Takes a picture. He says, thank you very much. We'll be in touch. Then he goes on to the next one. It is brilliant because you have just made those 4 people feel really good and you've just left them. So now I will leave the mic, and ladies and gentlemen, Mike Billoni.
Randy, you didn't tell me that.
That's not mine.
Well, Greg, thank you very, very much. It's a pleasure being back here in Jamestown. Mayor Sam Teresi has a full-page ad in the Jammers program book that says it all. Baseball, it's who we are. Terrence Mann in The Field of Dreams says, the one constant through all the years has been baseball. The one constant in Jamestown for the past 75 years has been a professional baseball team in the New York Penn League. Jamestown and Batavia are the only remaining charter cities in the Pony League, which began with teams in New York, Ontario, and Pennsylvania. Today, the league has franchises in 7 states. It's great to see my pal. As a sports writer, we guys got to stick together. I still bleed blood. But Jim Riggs has been an official scorer here for, did you say 38 years?
37. I was one too many.
37 years. Jim, congratulations. And one of the great sports writers that I have ever read. And how many players have looked up at that press box and said, that wasn't an error, that was a hit. I'm also proud to have my pal, a legendary radio man and a general manager here and a dear friend of mine, Mike Ferguson. Thanks for being here. And it's also great to see Jamestown's own Lori Cornell, who is a great Jammers fan, brings her children here all the time, but in her day job, she is your county's representative for Governor Andrew Cuomo. It's great to see her. Jamestown played the inaugural 1939 season as a Pittsburgh Pirate affiliate at Celeron Park on Chautauqua Lake. Yes, that was the same amusement park facility from which a barnstorming Babe Ruth hit a home run into the lake back in 1939. In a 1940 suspended season, Jamestown played at Allen Park on the south side of the city. In 1941, Jamestown Municipal Stadium was constructed and opened for the Jamestown Falcons. Municipal Stadium, which has had several makeovers and name changes since, is now called Diethrick Park in honor of our dear friend and a true humanitarian, Russell J. Diethrick Jr. Russ, a pleasure. You know, Russ is part of a team, and with him is a dear friend and someone who I just admire greatly, and that's June. Where's June? June Diethrick, who works with the Community Foundation and does so much in this community. A pleasure to be with you again. This park has a nice blend of historic quaintness and modern amenities. And I know Mayor Teresi likes to refer to it as the Fenway Park or Wrigley Field of minor league baseball, and he's certainly correct. It was late September 1993, as Greg pointed out, when the Montreal Expos divested their ownership in the Jamestown Expos and sold the team to Investor Group from Burlington, Vermont. The new owners moved the team to that city, and suddenly Jamestown was without a professional baseball franchise for the first time since 1939. That same year, minor league baseball had created standards that each stadium must adhere to. Rich baseball operations began in 1989 when Bob and Mindy Rich were on a quest to bring a Major League Baseball franchise to Buffalo. We had already had the Buffalo Bisons playing at the Class AAA level in Pilot Field, which could be expanded if we acquired a franchise. The Rich's goal was to create a model where we would own and operate all of our minor league baseball franchises from AAA to Rookie League at a spring training complex in Florida. We had a AA Texas League team in Wichita, Kansas, which is now located in Arkansas, which is near Walmart's headquarters. We also had a short season Class A club in the New York Penn League in Niagara Falls, which played at Sal Magley Stadium. We're also looking at spring training complexes sites in Florida, and the Riches were such visionaries back then that they were considering locations where they could build a community of a baseball stadium, a spring training complex, along with homes, a public park, and retail. Bob and Mindy were extremely serious about acquiring a Major League Baseball franchise for Buffalo. Bob was the vice chairman of the Buffalo Sabres and had learned a lot from the Knox brothers. During that time, the Riches had put in an offer to purchase the Montreal Expos, and they spent over $1 million on their expansion bid before Florida and Colorado were selected by the National League. Back in 1996, though, when Jamestown lost the Expos, I was with the New York Penn League president, Bob Julian, in the office of the Niagara Falls mayor, outlining the new stadium requirements that Major League Baseball had put in place for all minor league cities. We told the mayor that if these changes were not made to Sal Magley Stadium by the next season, the city would lose its franchise. The mayor, who had a penchant for holding and chewing on these long cigars, put the cigar up, took a bite, and looked at me and said, "Don't threaten me. You will never leave Niagara Falls." He certainly was no Sam Teresi. When we left his office, I called Bob Rich and said we must meet to discuss moving our franchise for the following season. During our meeting at Rich's, our in-house attorney and current CEO of Rich Products, Bill Giesel, said he knew a Phillips Lytle attorney in Jamestown, Greg Peterson, and he had said the city had just lost its franchise. That started a great relationship I began with Greg, Russ Diethrick, and then the Director of Community Development, Sam Teresi. They welcomed us with open arms. We talked about the process of moving our franchise from Niagara Falls to Jamestown as a final step to convince the Riches of the city's willingness to put politics aside and what was right for the community. Sam Teresi arranged a conference call with then the 3 mayoral candidates and the Riches. All of the candidates pledged to keep the stadium lease issue, the proposed stadium renovation program, and taking credit for any possible deal out of the ongoing mayoral campaign. When we agreed this was our move, we officially submitted our transfer notice to the New York Penn League office and our directors. During a league meeting that fall, I remember it was a cold Friday evening, and we put it in front of the directors, and it was a unanimous yes that we would move the franchise from Niagara Falls to Jamestown, and I immediately got on the phone to let Greg know that Jamestown's string of seasons with professional baseball would not be interrupted. Back then, franchises were sold for $100,000. Today, at this level, they're being sold for upwards of $5.5 million. So the game has changed considerably. Today, operating a minor league baseball franchise is big business. Much like the situation in Buffalo, where it looks like a $1 billion new stadium will be needed to keep the Bills here, minor league baseball stadiums have been and are continuing to be built and renovated so cities can keep their franchises. I applaud the diligent work of Randy Sweeney, the Community Foundation, Mayor Teresi, Greg Peterson, Russ and June Diethrick, Randy Anderson, Lee Harkness, Bruce and Julie Judgen, and the rest of the business leaders in Chautauqua County and Warren, Pennsylvania, for what you are doing to support the Jammers as Jammers backers. You are being proactive to show rich baseball operations that this region is serious about keeping professional baseball in Jamestown for another 75 years. You need some renovations here at the stadium, and the mayor told me he has a plan for that. And you also need to assist Jammers GM Matt Dreyer, a Jamestown resident who has been in his position here for 16 years, and his small staff to help fill these stands for the remainder of the season. It's now up to the business, political, media leaders, and the great fans of Jamestown professional baseball to prove that the Jammers must stay here. Thank you very much, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions for Mike? Must be something out there.
Mike, give us your best story.
Well, you know what? I've got to tell you, one of the times I was out here, I'll never forget, you know, kids would come out to the park, and we used to have Little League clinics and things like that. So this he had to be about 7 or 8 years old. He comes out, he was just by himself, he had a nice uniform on and a Jammers cap. And he walks by me and he's coming out here and he's saying, "I'm the greatest hitter in the world." Look, I said, okay. Then he tossed the ball in the air, swings a bat and misses. "Strike one," he yells. Then he picks up the second ball and says, "I'm the greatest hitter in the world." Throws it up, swings, misses the ball again. "Strike two," he says. And I look, now he says, "I'm the greatest hitter." And now he really digs in, throws the ball up, swings, misses again. "Strike three." Now he looks around, he says, "I'm the greatest pitcher in the world."
Thank you, Mike. Before we get into too many different stories, I want to thank Mike and Rich Baseball Operations. For those of you who may not remember, we were working at WKSN at the time, and I was here that night, and we really believed in the fact that we needed to keep baseball here. We were thrilled that baseball was here. And I grew up in Buffalo, New York. And during that time, Mike and I are pretty close to the same age. I'm a little bit older. I would go to the ballpark and watch this man run a professional ball game in what was truly a worn down, beat up field. Historic, and that's the key. He could sell the historic properties of War Memorial, not auditorium, but the stadium, to that crowd. He brought the natural to town, which, as we were talking about earlier, completely revamped Buffalo's love for baseball. And I remember Mike and Bob Rich Jr. had just finished painting the entire stadium. Their crew painted red, white, and blue seats throughout the entire stadium. And the day that the movie crew showed up in Buffalo, they said, "Yeah, we need all that gun gray." The entire stadium. I met Mike because I was on the radio, and we did a fundraiser for a young man in town that I'm sure you remember, Derek Perryman. It was the Derek Perryman Liver Fund that was a very big fundraising effort here in Chautauqua County. And Mike called me and said, "I want you to bring this fund to Buffalo, and we're going to have a night at the ballpark." And at one point we were trying to come up with ways that we could get people into the seats. And we called it Derek Perryman Liver Fund, bring a new liver to the ballpark. And Mike would have given you free admission at that time. I learned, literally, I learned everything I learned about sports from this man. And as much as being a mentor, he's been a hero to me and my family. And I would not have accomplished 1/3 of what I accomplished in the last 30 years of my life if it wasn't for Michael Billoni and his belief. And I remember when Greg Peterson called me and said, "We want to have lunch with you at the town club." And Mike said, "Have you thought about being in baseball?" And I said, "Well, I'm about 100 pounds too big and a little bit too old. What are you talking about?" And he said, "I'm going to give you the exact same title that Bob Rich gave to me, which is Director of Marketing, Group Sales, and Promotions for the Jamestown Jammers." And he said, "We'll see where it goes from there. See if you like it." And within 6 months, I just fell in love with what I was doing. And Sean Riley had an opportunity open for him in Florida. And I worked with Christine, who was his assistant. And very shortly, became general manager of this team and just stole every idea he had in Buffalo and brought it here. Wasn't always a big fan. I remember Jim and Todd Peterson going, what the heck is this guy doing? Would throw the ball into the crowd at the wrong time, and in fact, remember literally knocking out a player's father while standing on this dugout right here, and everybody was raising their hands, and I threw the baseball. I went back and threw the ball over here again, and everybody was jumping up and down back in the middle of the seats again, and I couldn't understand why, and I'm going, oh. Well, I had knocked the pitcher's father out. It was the first time he came to watch his son play baseball. I also remember the very first time that Mike had me come down for a fireworks night. I think it was maybe the first or second night I was here as general manager. And I came in and the wind had changed direction. The Jammers win and we say, let it go. Well, as you may or may not know, fireworks mostly are automated. Off they go, and the ambers and the fireworks came into the ballpark, landing on the crowd. People were scurrying right and left, shooting into the press box, and Mike was on the radio saying, turn it off, tell them to turn it off. And we could not get him to do it. Sky Jam was a big event here, and of course one of the events that were really quite sad but brought the community together was the passing of Dwight Lowry. First time we had stopped minor league baseball in New York Penn League, and I think almost its history since the war for 3 straight games. Mike also was the gentleman who called me after time here and said, how'd you like to come to Buffalo, where I was born and raised, and run the Buffalo Blizzard? So the man is a friend of me for life, and he and his lovely wife Debbie have been great friends, and I am proud to call him not only my former boss and a mentor, but a good friend. So thank you.
Thanks, Mike. You know, earlier I did an interview with Greg, and we talked about 1983 when the Natural came to Buffalo. And back then I was handling the promotions and that for the Bisons. And I'll never forget when the PR coup that I had was that we kept Robert Redford. No one knew he was in town for like 6 days that he was there. And they had a restaurant in town that they went to, and they put up a wall, like a temporary wall when we would go there, and he'd come in through the back. So it's about 10 o'clock, and I mean, they just, you know, were drinking wine like crazy, and all of a sudden he said, you know, he was talking about how he loved to play baseball, and that he could hit it over that short fence. And so they started, no, you can't do that. So they started betting him. So he looked at me and said, Mike, let's go. We're gonna prove this it was at 10 o'clock at night. So we drive to the stadium, and they had some little old guy who was the stadium caretaker in there sleeping. We pull in, I wake him up, I tell him, go turn the lights on. He's like, I can't do that. I said, come on, it's Robert Redford, you turn the lights on. So he turned the lights on, I go up to our clubhouse, much to the chagrin of our clubhouse manager, and I gather all the balls and the bats that we have, bring them out. Well, Robert Redford, if he stopped, about 100 people, you know, would break their back falling into him. There's just such an entourage. So one guy said, oh, I'll be the pitcher. And Redford picks up a bat. So I said, they're throwing the balls. They said, well, we got to shag the balls. So I grab a glove. I said, come on, grab a couple gloves. I'm the only one out there. Everyone else said, oh, Bob, that was a great swing. Swing and a miss. And I'm running the outfield. Come on, get those balls in here faster. He wants to hit. And he wouldn't stop until he hit one of them that went over the right field fence. Now, the way he did it, though, is he moved up to about where first base was, and they're robbing it. Come on, Bob, please hit it over there. Once he hit it, drops the bat, turns around, walks out. I'm left in the outfield, like, picking everything up, and 2 minutes later, they're gone. But that's Hollywood. But it really, I still think that movie was really the turning point in helping us bring people to a ballpark that no one wanted to go to, and then the Rich's goal of getting us from AA to AAA, and then a new downtown ballpark. And now 27 years later, that ballpark still looks like it did a couple years ago when it was built. So I encourage you to get down there to a Bison game, but continue supporting here. If anyone would like any further information on the food bank, I've got a brochure with me. And also, if you want to help us on a really neat program that we have going, I hate neat, it's really a sad program, is that we've identified kids in school that get a free breakfast and lunch, and these kids don't have food at home on the weekends, and we call it a backpack program. And we have a school in two schools in Dunkirk that are participating in that, and a number of schools in this county on a waiting list to get into it. And Wegmans is doing a promotion through the next week where you could go in and get items for that backpack program. Thank you very much, and I'll be here for the game.
All I can tell you is that I love this city. I love the game of baseball. I love the Jamestown Jammers. I love Diethrick Park. And forever those things belong together and will remain together as far as I'm concerned.
To support the Jammers, support what they meant to our community. But Russ, I know you've got a couple things you'd like to share.
Randy, thank you very much. I'll share you. The game starts in about 35 minutes, so we'll be over in time to get there. I couldn't help but feel as Mike Billoni was talking about the food pantry program and the food and feeding people. Jamestown's been doing that for many, many years, along with what the mayor's, at least the mayor made me think as he was talking about that. We've been feeding people that are hungry with sandwiches and milk and all of those kind of things. We've been feeding people who have a desire to go to a city park and play, go to a city park and relax. We've been feeding people that want to go to the theater. There's a theater to go and walk in and sit down and enjoy the theater. We've been feeding people who want to be proud of what's around them. And within every street and every street corner in Chautauqua County and Jamestown, all of those opportunities have been available, so we've been feeding people. We've been feeding people because we have a lot of needs, and we make our needs known. And not only feeding the people that are the recipient, but we've been feeding the people that have been able and desirable of helping feed those needs. All of that's been happening in Jamestown. And why that ties in my mind and ties to baseball is because that effort is not the effort of an individual. An individual could not do it. 3 individuals could not do it. But a team can do it and did do it. The best thing that ever happened to me in my life, other than June finding me on a street corner, was the fact that I was born to my mother and father. And boy, what coaches they were. I've always said the best judge that I ever knew was a woman. The best doctor I ever knew was a woman. The best preacher I ever knew was a woman. The most sincere jury I ever knew was a woman. And all of those things were a woman, and I called her mother. And when we can do that, we are blessed. But we have the opportunity to do these kind of things. And the other thing that happened to me, God made me left-handed. I don't know what this one's for. It follows me every place I go, but I have no idea what it does. Someday I'll find out, I presume. But the best thing about being left-handed and being interested in playing baseball, I learned early. Well, Russ can't play shortstop, he's left-handed. He can't catch because he's left-handed. He can't do this because he's left-handed. Well, maybe he can pitch batting practice because he's left-handed. Maybe he can play first base as long as the ball doesn't come too quickly off the bat. And maybe he can play the outfield if there's no fence and he can run for 40 miles and take him 3 days to get back. I was able to do that, and I suddenly learned that being left-handed, the only way the baseball team was going to work, I had to rely and count on many, many right-handers. And everybody joined and put a team together, some left-handed, some right-handed, but it made a team. And that's what the mayor made me think about as he was talking, and through Mike's story about feeding everybody that we can possibly feed. It's happened because Jamestown has had an outstanding team. It's played on this field. It's played on the parks. It's played in the minds of hundreds and hundreds of people, and they're all made up of left-handers and right-handers. So thank you for letting me be a left-hander on your team. Thank you.
I always say someday when I grow up, I want to be like Russ Diethrick. You hand him a microphone. I did not tell him that I was going to call him up, and that came off the cuff. I'll tell you, he says, I'm sorry. Russ, thank you. He always does a fantastic job. At this time, we got a little bit of time, but I know you were really enjoying some good social time when we interrupted you. We got about a half an hour before the game. Mike is going to throw out our first pitch tonight, so make sure you get your seat so you can see that. He's been practicing. Guaranteed that he will not be short. So, wow. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. I certainly hope that you'll continue to support Jamestown Jammers baseball, not only this year, but years to come. And thanks for coming for our annual meeting. We really appreciate it. Bye-bye.
We pay tribute to these great women and their fight to throw off breast cancer. The first Jammers General Manager and Public and Community Relations Director with the Food Bank of Western New York.
Let's do it right here, okay? Lead by example.
Photographer, where he's never here when we need him. There he is!